How DC developers made big money on a taxpayer funded housing project. Let's get into this. This article is from the Washington Post. It ran about maybe 6 days ago. However, the Washington Post is behind a paywall, so many people don't get this information. So I just wanted to cover this information and share it with others because I'm sure a lot of people miss this. A short drive from the soon to be redeveloped RFK Stadium site in southeast Washington, a red brick building known as the Ethel has been looted by Mayor Muriel Bowser as the kind of development needed to solve an affordable housing crisis in one of the most expensive regions in the country. All 101 bedroom units come with social services for the formerly homeless people who live there, mostly rent free, a response to the intense needs in a city where tent encampments have been common. But it's not only residents who have benefited. The building's developers are collecting millions of dollars more than housing finance experts say would normally go to developers for such a project. Money flowing from a cascade of government subsidies approved by city officials, a Washington Post investigation found. After acquiring the land for the Ethel for the district for $10, the developer sold it for 7.1 million dollars in a complex transaction that still allowed the building to be built there. About half of that amount is to be paid to the developers through revenue that largely comes from city rental vouchers meant to benefit the building's tenants. The Ethel avoids nearly 500,000 per year in local property taxes because the developers claim the company that owns the building is controlled by a nonprofit organization that has no actual control. Due in part to the property tax break, the Ethel will generate hundreds of thousands of dollars each year in extra cash, according to the project's forecast. Money that will at first finish paying the developers for the land formerly owned by the city and will then go to them as an incentive management fee and preferred returns totaling more than 6 million by 2037. The Post finding shows that thanks to the near free land and tens of thousands of dollars and other subsidies, the developers stand to collect more than 13 million in payouts during the building's first 15 years of operation. If this projections hold, the payments come on top of an 8.5 million developer fee, also funded through subsidies that experts say should alone have compensated them for undertaking the project. Bluntly, the taxpayers of DC are being screwed by this, said Kirk McClure, a professor for the Public Affairs School of the University of Kansas and a former loan underwriter for the Massachusetts Housing Finance Agency. He and two other experts who reviewed the financial records at the Post request questioned whether the district has adequate guardrails to prevent overpaying developers. The partnership responsible for developing the Ethel is led by Chris Donatelli, CEO of Bethesda-based real estate development company, and Brian Scotty Irving, founder of DC-based Blue Sky Development. Both men are longtime Bowser campaign supporters, and both have repeatedly been among developers who receive free or heavily discounted land from the district in return for promise to building affordable housing. Bowser appointed Irving to the board of the DC Housing Finance Agency, a local government entity responsible for ensuring that such projects do not receive more funding than they need and that developers are not overcompensated. Nina Albert, who began as a deputy mayor for planning and economic development 2 years after Ethel was financed, said that she and her staff put fresh eyes on the deal after questions from the Post and that they determined that the developer was not unduly enriched. She maintained that the project came at no cost to taxpayers and did not include any DC money. Records show the development budget relied on a city loan to be repaid through tens of millions of dollars in revenue from the locally funded rental vouchers, the near free land, and 27 million in foregone federal tax revenue to provide low income housing tax credits. Albert said in a statement that the Ethel is a crucial lifeline to at-risk families, offering community services and amenities to teach residents life skills, helping them re-enter the workforce, and otherwise putting them on a path to long-term and stability. Donatelli did not respond to requests for comment. His attorney, Paul Apauchi, declined comment. Irving has also declined comment. After the Ethel was financed, the mayor's office tapped Donatelli and Urban to develop 5 more city-owned parcels in Hill East. Through a recent court order, has called into question whether Donatelli will remain involved. The area is ripe for investment after the DC Council approved a $3.7 billion deal for new Washington Commander Stadium complex. Land for $10. Okay. When Bowser first ran for mayor in 2014, Donatelli and Urban were part of the Green Team of civic leaders and donors who backed her. The pair, their families, and companies controlled by them combined contributed $25,000 to the campaign. Donatelli celebrated at Bowser's primary election party wearing a green mural for mayor t-shirt. Shortly after taking office in 2015, Bowser signed an agreement initiated by Mayor Benson C. Gray administration to hand over $10 the city-owned land on which the Ethel would be built to a company formed by Donatelli Development and Irving's Blue Sky Development. City officials had long envisioned buildings on the land as a beachhead for further redevelopment in Hill East, an area of the modest houses between the Capitol Hill neighborhood and the Anacostia River that has long been home to public facilities, including the now demolished DC General Hospital and DC Jail. In exchange for those 3 acres, the developers promised to produce 354 apartment units in 2 buildings, 30% of which would be rented at reduced prices to low-income tenants. Local government routinely subsidizes the construction of affordable housing with contributions such as free land, because the obligation to rent units at below market rates lowers a building's potential revenue, making it harder for developers to finance a project. Donatelli and Irving received support from city officials for changes that would more than overcome that hurdle. First, they chose to concentrate most of the affordable units in the Ethel, named for Ethel Kennedy, a longtime advocate for social causes in neglected DC neighborhoods. That allowed the Ethel to qualify for the federal low income housing tax credit program. Then the city added another subsidy to the Ethel, pledging 20 years of locally funded rental vouchers for each of the building's 100 units. The tenants put 30% of their income towards rent, but that contribution is from a few $100s to nothing for most, leaving the city to pay the bulk. The district agreed to allow the buildings to collect $2,648 per month for each unit, several $100s above the market rate, according to an appraisal report. The guaranteed rent payments will add up to $47.7 million to the Ethel in the first 15 years, which helped the building qualify for a $52.5 million loan from the city. With the loan, the tax credits, and the land, the developers had financed the project in full. But the city did not stop there. The district agreed to pay a company, MBI Health Services, to provide 24/7 concierge and security services. The award to MBI for fiscal year 2025 was $1.2 million. The project had gone from cash poor, as most affordable housing developments are, to bursting with subsidies. The land contribution also gave the developers a parcel on which they have built a second apartment building, the Park Kennedy, which carries a far lower affordable housing burden, only 31 of 262 units. The parcel of land, now not including the building that sits on it, assessed on the tax rolls as $9.8 million. So it looks like affordable housing isn't too affordable in DC if the developers are getting all of the money here. Um, just wanted to share this information. This is amazing to see that DC has land to give away for $10. This is amazing, especially when you hear so many people that need help with ERAP. Where is the money? Why was ERAP cut? If you have enough money to give developers in this city to develop land, you can give away land for $10. There should be a lot of vouchers available for DC residents. This is the Awareness District. I am T Short. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you again.